in high school they used to call me chicken shawarma. Well, it doesn't even make any sense because I don't eat meat. And it's shawarma, not shawarma.
Hi everyone, this is Silas Ram, AsianCultureVulture.com. I'm here at the 65th London Film Festival and we're talking to the talent of 7 Days, which is a fantastic rom-com movie set in COVID, under lockdown, and we're here with writer-director Roshan Sethi and actor and writer Karan Soni. Welcome to AsianCultureVulture.com. How are you doing?
Good, thank you for having us.
How's it to be in London?
It's great.
It's nice.
Been here for a while.
The sun is out. We're happy.
Yeah.
So you guys wrote this together. Where did the idea come from? And the characters are so interesting. You know, I think they'd be watchable going to the supermarket and making decisions because they're really funny and neurotic and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But where did the inspiration for it come?
We specifically wanted to write a movie that we could make in a feasible way during the pandemic, which meant that it had to be constrained and it had to be as few actors as possible. So we sort of reverse engineered it out of that. But the idea to do something set in the sort of Indian thing of arranged marriages and all of that came from our own sort of family experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And what the characters? How did they form? In were they kind of? Did you have a base and then filled it out?
Yeah, I'm sort of playing like a exaggerated version of myself, and
really?
then
Right.
Rita is sort of a version of him. When we first met, he was more closed off and more guarded. So we sort of took that as like a jumping off point, and then we just love this idea in a rom-com. You usually have like the female character is very like excited to get married and settle down and like lock it in, but we were like, wouldn't it be fun if like the guy is doing that and then the female character sort of like, I don't believe in marriage, and so that sort of was like the jumping off point.
And there's such a trope in rom-coms in particular of the manic pixie girl, but really it's a manic pixie guy. He's all over the place, he's constantly talking, but we sort of wanted to flip that.
Oh, my mom's divorced, by the way. Can I get a what? Yeah, she's divorced. And divorce sucks, man. You know, it really sucks. And it especially sucks when you're Indian because you can't talk about it.
Yeah, I think it really works. How was it then? Right at the actual writing process, did you write a scene or two, or did you write it and he kind of Karan looked at it, edited it? How did that work actually?
It actually really began with Karan, who writes very quickly and intuitively, and really had this character in his head in a way that I don't think I could have conceived of independently, because it so came out of his personality. But so he wrote the pages, and then I'm much more of a structure, like I labor over writing in a way that is like less funny, honestly. So I was much more the organizer and that kind of thing. And then a little bit more in the second half when it gets more dramatic.
We would just talk about some of the big scenes and then sort of be like, and then this probably happens at this point, like the halfway point, maybe this would happen, and we would just sort of throw that, and then we'd be like, let's start writing towards that or something. But I really followed Roshan's lead because he's written like 100 scripts, so I would just be like, just put me in, coach, and tell me what to do, and I'll type away.
But we both write very freely and intuitively without an outline, and for better or for worse, we both just play around.
So at the start you have the sort of an older generation talking about how they met. And why did you feel it was important to do that?
Well, I personally was like, we have to do that because we based it off of Shaadi.com, which is a real website, which I grew up in India, so people don't really use that there, but it basically is so prevalent in North America at least. And it basically is parents trying to find matches for their children, but the profiles are written by the parents, and I just thought it was the funniest thing I'd ever seen, to read these dating profiles of 20-somethings written by older Indian parents. So we sort of were like, this will be a great way to add humor and also like start the movie and set this world of like this bizarre world, which is real, of like they're about to go on their first date, but their parents have probably been communicating for weeks, if not longer.
They're really like agents.
Yeah.
But the I don't know if you meant the video testimonials that begin the movie.
Yes.
That came kind of from When Harry Met Sally. That, as you probably know, has intercut throughout the movie several scenarios of different couples and how they met that are based on real stories but acted. And we had conceived of doing the exact same thing, except with Indians of that generation who had arranged marriage, and actually scripted those scenes, and then came up with what I think was ultimately the better idea of A, filming our real relatives. One of the couples is his parents, and then B, instead of intercutting them, putting them at the beginning and end of the movie.
Do you see big difference? I mean, I don't know how familiar you are with the kind of dating scene in the UK and sort of how people get together, but
they've all my cousins have had love marriages, and none of them have found their matches through Shadi.com. So I don't know if it's different here.
Well, I got the impression watching 7 Days that the culture was a little bit different in the sense there probably is a little bit more arranged assisted marriage. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know enough about it here, but definitely in America you hear of a decent amount of people who do prefer meeting on there. We had like a younger couple we interviewed for that reason who sort of were like, we just wanted to find someone who was Indian, and it was really hard on these other apps because there's just so few and far between. So they were like, I just created a profile because I was like, I know what I'm looking for, someone with the same culture and values and all of that stuff. So yeah, but...
And Roshan, how was it directing this, directing 7 Days? I mean, it was under, again, COVID, and what was that experience like?
Well, I had never directed anything before, and we really conceived of this whole project together because we wanted to make this movie together. We even financed it partly on our own with our shared money and produced it together on every level. And then we shot it in 8 days, and we were shooting 15 to 17 pages a day in an extremely kind of like insane way where we only had 1 or 2 takes and a very stripped down crew. Yeah, it was a very particular experience.
It was easy for him because he also is a doctor, so he's worked literally in an ER and done all of that stuff. So we would sort of do something and he would just be like, yeah, this is fine.
And you were working in this period as well?
Yeah, well, I had actually just finished residency, and I had a few months off before starting my attending job, and which is the equivalent of a consultant in the U.S. And so I was just about to start my consultant job, basically, and in that gap we made this. But yeah.
Have you moved to full-time writing?
I'm still because I've been writing throughout residency, so I'm still a part-time physician. So I'm a part-time consultant at Harvard in the oncology end-of-life area, and then I do that for 12 weeks of the year, and then for the rest of the year I write.
And you like writing comedy? Is that the contrast?
I've never written comedy before meeting Karan. I had zero interest in writing comedy, and do not bring that side with Karan. But I've acquired a real appreciation for it to the point that I feel like no movie shouldn't have comedy. So I don't know how I've suddenly moved over to an extreme view, but
it's very funny the way that these two characters. I love the way you unravel them. You know, at the beginning there's such a facade with both of them, and they're both trying so hard to be people they're not. And then slowly lockdown kind of breaks that down, and there's, I think, a beautiful arc to the story. And was that, how intentional was that when you started out? Did you have a very clear idea?
Yeah, we had a full script, and so that was always clear. And then on the day we would play with
writing. We knew that would be that.
Are we going to see Ravi or Rita again? Is there any...
Well, you have an idea for a sequel.
Well, yeah, I think this is never going to happen. But I wanted to do a sequel where it's a 7 days again. It's set over 7 days, but they're getting divorced. Or 7 days and they're having a kid. I don't know. You could just keep going. But I don't know that, I don't know that we'll get to that.
And what's coming up for you next? What's next on your horizon?
Yeah, we're both trying to make another movie together. We don't know what it will be. One script that we're both really interested in is about a gay Indian marriage, and we're a couple ourselves, so it's kind of close to our home. And then we're writing together a show for Netflix that's set in New Delhi, actually, and is partly local language, and it's a heist thing that we're happy or excited about.
Yeah. And Karan, what's your...
Yeah, we're doing those projects, and then I just did this movie for Hulu and Searchlight called Not Okay, and then filming a movie here for Amazon called The People We Hate at the Wedding, and yeah.
So what do you feel obviously this movie is shown originally in America. What was the reaction there? How did anything surprise you about the way people reacted to it?
I think the I don't know that I was surprised. The reception was really positive. The COVID thing is the most interesting thing I think about the movie in terms of how people react to it. I think the only perspective I have is as a physician that there is no way to pretend that COVID didn't happen. It's just impossible for me physically. And I think the idea of creating art that ignores what we've all been through is harder for me to stomach than it would be for the average person, I'm guessing. But it happened and it's happening, and it came at such an enormous cost to all of us. So it was always important for me for that to be a part of it.
And then to us, like, the movie's like it has a happy ending, and we can try to avoid thinking that this thing didn't happen, but it, like you said, it is happening, and we can take from the experience what we can. Like, we weren't planning to spend our own money to make a movie before COVID, and it was because Hollywood was shut down that last summer Roshan was like, we're not going to work this year unless we do make something, and now we're getting to screen it in London. So as horrible and everything as this time has been, it's also been a mix of all kinds of other stuff. And for the characters in the movie, you know, they were on a set path, and then this kind of shook up their life and made it better in many ways. So to us, like, we're sort of hopeful that, like, people take from this, like, what we took from COVID in a weird way too, where we made something.
Yeah.
And how does it feel to bring it to London?
Great. Yeah, it's been so wonderful. You know, there's such a big Indian, I know you say Asian here, but we don't use that phrase the same way in America. But
No, I know.
yeah, but there's such a big Asian community here that it's I think for us really exciting to see how it plays here, because Indians have been here longer than they have in America, and it's a very different community in some ways.
And your relatives are coming to one of the screenings?
Yes,
so
20 relatives are coming on Saturday.
Great stuff. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah,
It was
thank you
brilliant
for
to have
having
you.
us.
And wish you all the best with 7 Days and the future.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
Like, I'd much rather get married and then, like, try and then it not work out than be lonely. I mean, that's, like, the real threshold, a certain date. But, yeah, you know, just don't get divorced and don't be lonely.